Hi, my name is Niall Griffiths. I am presenting today on polluted water and its effects on the human body. I chose this topic because water is super important and everywhere, and there's a lot of hidden pollution that we don't expect in our waters. The Earth is made of 71% of water, and 60% of our bodies are also made of water. There are more than 304 million bodies of water in the world, most of which are at least slightly polluted, but unfortunately 40% of all of the bodies of water are severely polluted. The water in our bodies it's in nearly every biological process. It regulates our temperature, protects our tissue, carries nutrients, flushes waste. And we actually don't get enough water as a society because we generally only consume like 1 to 2 liters a day, but we lose more than that each day, which means we're at a deficit of water, causing a lot of problems. Clean water is a basic human right, and it is super critical for our bodies and everyday tasks. We need it for food prep, doing agriculture, and other recreational activities. Like we need a drink to play sports and whatnot. Communities with access to clean water, most of America has access to clean water, but around the world it's a lot different. And those who do have clean water have fewer health risks and much better economies. And it's actually better water supplies are directly linked with improved productivity, stability, and healthcare. The lack of clean water is detrimental to society in most places. Many places, most in Africa and in India, and other third world countries like that. It's detrimental to society because it magnifies poverty, making education a lot harder because kids have to, instead of going to class, they have to skip and go get water for their families to actually continue living and doing all those things we talked about earlier, like food prep and farming and whatnot. So they're unable to get education, and then it also increases vulnerability to preventable diseases, along with imparting many other health issues such as waterborne illness. Pollution around the world has caused many deaths. It still causes roughly 1 million each year of deaths, and it is far better than what it used to be. In 1990, there was 217 million people who died from sources caused of water pollution. 900,000 of which were in India alone, which is really sobering. 2 billion people worldwide still lack access to safe water, increasing their risk and decreasing their quality of society. The health effects of contaminated water. Disease outbreaks of cholera, dysentery, and typhoid threaten global health. Cholera caused 4,159 deaths in 2021. Dysentery and other diarrheal diseases caused 1.2 million deaths in 2021. And typhoid and paratyphoid caused 993,333 deaths in 2021. It's a super high risk, especially for children, because the diarrheal diseases are a leading cause to mortality to the children. But beyond those infections, there also is exposure to chemical contaminants like arsenic, lead, fluoride, which can cause chronic health problems like developmental delays and neurological disorders, to cancer and organ failure as well. Water quality and water management are not something that should be put off. Those are like number one concerns. It's a fundamental part of public health and safety. Ensuring safe water for everyone only gets harder as climate change, population growth, and urbanization happens as well. And we need to understand the effects of water pollution on the human body. Access to safe water, or the lack thereof, has measurable impacts on populations around the world. The people most affected tend to be the children, the elderly, the people with and the immunocompromised, and those living in communities without robust public health systems. In these communities, the cycle of disease and poverty that's created by this contaminated water is a really persistent and destructive cycle. Because when the children are negatively affected, they grow up and are unable to find a place in society because they have to miss work, because of carryover from diseases, or want to get more water. Waterborne illnesses such as waterborne diseases that are caused by pathogens such as bacteria, viruses, or parasites are the biggest danger. They lead to cholera, dysentery, hepatitis, and typhoid, which, as said before, cause around 1.2 million deaths per year. Pollution in the ecosystem and its consequences. I stated a little of this before, but they're developmental. Thing is childhood exposure to these diseases and pathogens. Stunts growth, leads to malnutrition and cognitive delay, which makes it a lot harder for their future. It also disrupts nutritional patterns because it leads to nutrient absorption, specifically diarrhea, which can turn into a weaker immune system, which just goes back on itself and it makes it easier to get disease, which is not good. And then those things lead to a future where they may never fully recover, and they may experience lifelong setbacks, especially making consistency in a job and therefore keeping a job really difficult. What's worse is that if they were to go to a hospital in places close by where there isn't the right amount of sanitation because of low incomes and whatnot, the water isn't properly treated, which leads to about 15 out of each 100 patients to acquire a second infection on top of their already bad infection, which makes it more dangerous, which makes going to a hospital more dangerous than treating it on your own. And it's also hard for the workers there because then they could get disease, which is really not good. Some other costs of polluted water are economic and social costs. Families without access to water nearby spend hours each day collecting water, time that could otherwise be spent in education, work, or family life. And it also leads to, because of the physicality required, it leads to musculoskeletal problems, especially for women and girls who generally are the ones who collect water. Also, water scarcity and poor water quality leads to loss of productivity, increased costs for keeping people healthy, and lower economic growth because people can't dedicate so much time to it. Fortunately, the benefits of preventing are really, really impactful. Combining clean water with proper sanitation can reduce diarrheal diseases by up to 33%, reducing illness rates and deaths for everyone. Some ways to invest in cleaner water is to have better water filtration devices, purification technologies, and also investing in infrastructure like wells. Much of this does not affect us because we have so much access to that clean water. We can just go in and turn the faucet. However, what does affect us is that microplastics and PFAs, which are forever chemicals in our water, is in nearly every water source. And it's really hard to filter out. Some other things like lead and arsenic are also in our water, which can lead to various behavioral, developmental issues and cancers, along with suppressed immune systems. And many of these things are really common. A recent study showed that bottled water can contain microplastics just because it comes off of the thing, which can accumulate in our organs and brains that can impact our immunity and even our fertility rates. So how this impacts my faith? God did not create evil. He did not mean for this to happen, but because we are so broken in this world, I think that water pollution really shows how it really shows sin, because we were called to steward the earth. I think we still are. But just as sin corrupted us, we have polluted the world, which sounds silly weird theologically, but just take it as it is. I think that the PFAs and other chemicals in our water is really impactful to us because it's causing things that we don't even realize. It's causing cancers and other diseases that we were up until now, even still, we don't realize it's there. And to minimize these chemicals, I want to get a high quality filter to keep it safe. In conclusion, water is necessary for our bodies, but it's also really, really dangerous if you don't have the right ways to sanitize and clean it. I think it's really important to make our societies economies, and it's a basic human right. Yep. Here are my sources. Thanks everyone for listening.